how about anything in the general business world of leveraging this meaningful connection and communication? How they can use it within with their employees,
Uh,
how to foster culture within a company.
oh man, I
Yeah.
mean, that's everything. Like if you think about what's on every job description that you've ever applied for, written, oral, and communication skills, right? So if you're going to be working with people in any capacity, this is going to be necessary. The skill set of having strong interpersonal communication skills, emotional intelligence. And it really just comes to like, do you know how well you know yourself? Because if you can't regulate the self-talk that you have when no one is around, then how are you going to regulate the conversations that you're having with other people? So I think it really starts with the internal work, right? And that how you engage with yourself. There's that quote, like, I don't know who said this, but essentially you can't have, if I want to have compassion for others, I need to have compassion with myself. So your employees how you engage with your employees, how you speak with others is a reflection of really also how you engage with yourself in here, in your head.
I mentioned to you this before, where I am a big empathy guy, and I think empathy plays a big role in creating culture. So how does someone leverage empathy and
Mm.
utilize that for meaningful communication and meaningful conversation, meaningful connections, conscious
Yeah.
relationships? Where
Empathy is huge. I'm glad you bring that up specifically. And, when it's people have different feelings about empathy, right? I've heard some old school folks be like, empathy in the workplace, like, what are you talking about? Like, this is business. Business is business. But like we've talked about, things have changed. And I think the first distinction I would want to make to everyone listening is, and it's a common mistake that I see when I've been teaching, is empathy and sympathy. People use those words interchangeably,
and they're not.
and they are not the same. They are not the same. So one, we got to get that clear, right? And there's some research. I think she was a nurse formerly, Teresa Wiseman has these four attributes of empathy, and it's perspective taking, staying out of judgment, so being able to listen to someone without assigning judgment, being able to recognize their emotions and what they're feeling, and then being able to communicate, hey Rashab, this is what I'm seeing and feeling on this end. So those are the four qualities, and those things, what they found, that empathy, when we practice empathy with people, it actually creates and fosters connection between us. And when we practice sympathy, the opposite happens, which is kind of crazy because I grew up thinking sympathy was a good thing. We should have sympathy for others. But what we see is that it falls short, right?
It
So,
does, yeah.
it's just like, oh, you feel bad, but then you kind of are done with feeling bad and you want to move along, or you want to be like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's pity, and then yeah.
yes, exactly. We're like, "Oh, Rasab, I'm so sorry that happened. Did you wanna go get dinner?" It's like, I'm ready to move on because it makes me feel uncomfortable, and when we empathize with people, we have to be willing to sit in that discomfort with them, and I think sometimes that triggers something inside of us,
Mhm.
and it could be difficult to sit with that. And so that's why I say we need to really learn to understand our landscape inside, so your boundaries, so your triggers, how much empathy you are able to provide today. Because I'll be honest with Shab, like, it's so funny when and I'm sure you've gotten this in your field of work, where I do workshops and people are like, wow, because I do communication, they think I must be a perfect communicator and have empathy all the time. And it's just not true. There are days I've developed the self awareness where I'm like, wow, today I'm feeling a little short fused. And I have that awareness. So I'm not going to put myself in situations at work or with my colleagues where I'm going to work out, my anger or whatever on them. And again, that empathy, we got to learn to have that with each other, because that's really how, and with ourselves. Again, it goes back to that. If you can't have empathy and compassion with yourself, you're less likely, research shows us that you're less likely to practice it with other people, because why would you? You can suck it up and get through the day. Why
Mhm.
can't other people suck it up and get through the day? So that empathy, I just think, is such an important part of that that experience I mean, at least for me, having a wholesome, wholehearted, authentic, environment where people will thrive, right? And feel safe.
I couldn't agree more, and I think you exemplified it so well, and why it's so important in the business world, in the professional world, and also in the personal world.
Yeah.
So I want to leave you off with this. What parting advice would you like to give to any professional or entrepreneur that's listening to this podcast, specifically centered around meaningful communication and connection?
That's a big question, Rashab. Is that why you left it at the end?
Yeah, that's why I left it at the end.
I would say that's tough. I would say my parting advice would be, and this may sound a little cheesy, but to be patient, to appreciate wherever you are in your process right now, because as hard as it may be, maybe right now, maybe things don't look or did not come out to what you thought they would be. I always say that whatever's happening right now is a piece that I'm going to need to build the thing that I'm trying to build, where I'm trying to go. So I need right now, whatever it is, even if I don't like it, I need right now. And really, I'm sure we've all heard this phrase, but trusting the process, right? Really surrendering to what is happening right now. I think it was it Bruce Lee who said, be like water, and to really just be in flow. When water in a stream hits a rock, it doesn't stop all the water. It goes around. It adapts. It's flexible. So I think really the more present we are and we are just surrendering to right now, we find gratitude in right now. It allows us to kind of release all the expectations we put on ourselves or that other people put on us, and it allows us really to practice letting go, which then builds our muscle of resilience. And God, if an entrepreneur needs any trait, it is resilience. So I would say that would be my parting advice.
I love it. Melanie, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on the Business 360 podcast.
Loved it. I will come back anytime you want.
You're always welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.